Alrighty, here's your 3-1 Part 2 homework tutorial. On this assignment, we're first going to start by solving and practicing elimination method, and then we're going to get into a little bit of applications, in other words, word problems. I will work out the odd problems with you all. So for number one, well, when you're solving by elimination, you always want to eliminate the variable that has the same number up front but different signs. If it doesn't have that already, you would have to apply multiplication to either one equation or both equations before it will have the same number in front, different signs. So again, there's no one size fits all here either. It really depends on the scenario. So when I look at number one, and number your equations as well. So we have equation 1, equation 2. Equation 1's y term has 1 in front. So I can make that become a -2, and then it would be different signs but same number as the second equation. So that's all I need to do for this particular equation or system. It is to take the first equation and multiply it by a -2. When you multiply the second equation by -2, you're going to get a -6x, a -2y is equal to a -14. Bring over your second equation, unchanged, and now you can add your two equations together. Again, you can't add until one of the variables has the same number of different signs. So -6x plus 4x is a -2x. -2y plus 2y cancels out, so it's 0 remaining in that spot, essentially. -14 plus 16 is a +2. So I've just simplified the equation to -2x equals 2. Now I would divide -2 on both sides to get x is equal to a -1. Now that I know what x is, I would substitute it back into one of the original problems or equations for x. So let's say I use the first equation. So it would be 3 times x, so they use parentheses, plus y equals 7. And it probably is a good habit to write out the equation exactly as it looks and double check first before you substitute so that you don't make a mistake or write the wrong information and get the wrong answers. You really have to be patient with this process. It's not gonna, if you make any simple mistake, it throws off everything. So again, I'm replacing x with -1. So 3 times -1 is -3. Then I would add 3 to both sides, so y is equal to 10. So the solution to -1, the solution to number 1 is -1, 10. Again, it's always x comma y as an ordered pair. When I look at problem 3, equation 2 has an x term by itself, or no coefficient, and the top x term in equation 1 has a 2 in front. So on this problem, I'm going to take -2 and multiply it with the second equation. So when I multiply the second equation with negative 2, I would get negative 2x minus 4y equals a negative 4. I need to bring over the first equation as it was written, no changes. So again, the variable, it depends on what you want to cancel, and what numbers you multiply depend on what numbers needed need to be there in order for the cancellation to happen. So I can add my equations now. So 2x plus negative 2x is a 0. 3y plus negative 4y is a negative 1y. Bring down my equal sign. Negative 3 plus negative 4 is a negative 7. So essentially I have negative y equals a negative 7. And you can't leave y negative, so you would divide both sides by negative 1. So you would have y equals positive 7. Now that I know what y is, I can find x by using any one of the original equations. So let's say I use equation 2. Equation 2 was originally x plus 2y equals 2. So again, I'm replacing y in this problem. So x plus 2, open up parentheses, because I'm going to replace y with 7. So that means x plus 14 equals 2. Subtract 14 on both sides, you would get x equals negative 12. So the solution to this system is negative 12, 7. Now when I look at number 5, my y terms both have a 2 in front and they have different signs. So there's no multiplication involved in this problem. I just simply need to add the two equations together. So 5 plus negative 6 is a negative 1x. Again, positive 2y plus negative 2y cancels out. Bring down my equal sign. 12 plus a negative 14 is negative 2. So essentially, negative x equals negative 2. And we just had this discussion. You can't have a negative variable, so divide by negative 1 on both sides, which would leave you with x equals positive 2. Now that I have x, I'll pick any one equation. So I'll go with the one that has the plus sign and all positive numbers because I like positive numbers. So that would be equation 1, 5x plus 2y equals 12. And I'm replacing x this time. So open up a set of parentheses in place of x. Now I'm filling the parentheses with 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract 10 on both sides, you get 2y equals 2. Divide both sides by 2, y equals 1. So the solution to the system is 2, 1. So on number 7, equation 1, equation 2, we don't have the same number in front of any variable, but we can make 3 turn into 6, or we can make 4 turn into 8. It doesn't matter. Just pick your favorite. So let's say I want W to disappear. So if I want W to disappear, I would need the bottom 3 to turn into a negative 6. So that means I would have to multiply the bottom equation by a negative 2. When I multiply it by -2, I would end up with -6w plus 8z equals a -16. Bring over the first equation untouched. It was 6w minus 8z equals 16. And now add the two equations together. So 6w plus -6w cancels out, leaves you with 0. -8z plus 8z also cancels out, leaves you with 0. Bring down my equal sign. 16 plus -16 cancels out, leaves you with 0. So at the end of the day, you have 0 equals 0, which is a true statement. So this system has infinitely many solutions. So any point on the line is a solution. Now for 9 through 12, we're going to write a system and solve the system, and we can use substitution or elimination, whichever one seems easier at the moment. And there'll be certain cases where you can tell which one is easier at that time. It really depends on your preference. Number 9, the sum of two numbers is 12. The difference of the same two numbers is -4. Find the numbers. So we need variables. So we could say x is the first number and y is the second number. So the first statement says the sum, so sum means that we add the two numbers, is 12. So that's x plus y equals 12. Then the second statement says the difference of the same two numbers. So difference means you subtract. So x minus y equals -4. So that's my system. Now we solve the system. In this situation, I notice that y has a 1 in front of both y's in both equations, and they have different signs. So I'm going to use elimination method. So I can now simply add the two equations together because there's no multiplication involved right now. So x plus x is 2x. Y plus -y cancels out. 12 plus -4 is 8. So I have 2x equals 8. Divide both sides by 2, you would get x equals 4. Now that I know what x is, go back to the system and substitute that in. You can use equation 1 or 2. I'm going to use 1. So 1 was x plus y equals 12, right? So now I'm saying that x is 4 plus y is 12. So I would subtract 4 on both sides, and that would give me y is equal to 8. So the solution to the system is 4, 8. In other words, the two numbers are 4 and 8. $11. At a store, toothbrushes cost X dollars and bars of soap cost Y dollars. So this situation is already telling us what the variables represent. So the toothbrush, or X is the cost of toothbrushes, and Y is the cost of soap. Good to know. One customer bought 2 toothbrushes and a bar of soap for a total cost of $11. Another customer bought 6 toothbrushes, 5 bars of soap for a total cost of $38. Both amounts do not include tax. Write and solve a system for the equations for X and Y. So we had the first customer bought 2 toothbrushes. So the cost of the brush times 2 would tell me the total of that part, plus 1 bar of soap times the cost of the soap, and spent $11. Customer number 2 bought 6 toothbrushes and 5 bars of soap and spent $38. So these 2 equations would be the system in this situation. I'm going to practice substitution with you again. So when practicing substitution, and the reason I'm using substitution is because y of equation 1 has a 1 in front. So we can solve for y by subtracting 2x on both sides, which would give you an equation that reads y equals negative 2x plus 11. And then you replace this expression for y in my second equation. So rewrite your second equation, leaving parentheses in place of y. And now we fill the parentheses with what y is now. Now we can solve for x. So bring down my 6x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10x. 5 times 11 is 55. Combine 6x and negative 10x, you would get negative 4x plus 55 equals 38. Subtract 55 on both sides, you would get negative 4x is equal to negative 17. No, 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 no. Hold on. Yeah, negative 17. Divide both sides by 4. And x is equal to a fraction because 4 doesn't go into 17 completely. And just to re-emphasize, 38 minus 55, that my mathematics was right, is negative 17. Good. Negative 17 divided by negative 4 is 425. So 425 is the cost of toothbrushes. Now, let's find the cost of um, soap. So we would go back to any one of our equations. So let's go to the first one. 2x plus 1y equals 11. I went to the first one because it had smaller numbers. That's the only reason I went there. Again, I could have used any one. And now we're going to replace x with 425. So 425 times 2 is 850. And then 11 minus 850 is 250. So y equals 250. In other words, it's $2.50 for a bar of soap. So this concludes your homework tutorial. Good luck on finishing the rest of the assignment.